Hello and welcome to the business of the business. I am your co-host, JP John Paz from the Two Man Power Trip, and of course, joining me is the financial wrestling genius himself, Mr. Lavi Margolin. Lavi, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Why waste any time? Another special night. Really, our most prolific and newsworthy guest by far. Welcome, Brett Lauderdale of GCW, back to the Business of the Business podcast.
Well, thank you, Lovey and John. It's my pleasure. You know, this is my favorite wrestling podcast and pretty much the only one I will participate in. So, thanks for having me back, and I'm ready to go.
Nice. Just don't mention to Kevin Kleinrock that you're the favorite guest because he will flip out and
I
Lavi
won't.
will get in trouble. So yeah. So Nick Gage Invitational is announced. Tell us all about it. I guess it's going to be down in Orlando. Tell us about the NGI.
The NGI. And yeah, it's the we run 2 deathmatch tournaments a year. We do sort of the summer kickoff, which is Tournament of Survival, and this is kind of the year-end deathmatch tournament, the NGI. So this is equally the big one. There's neither one's bigger than the other. They're both the big one, and this goes to Florida for the first time, which is I'm pretty excited about actually, because I like being able to kind of spread the deathmatch. I don't know, the deathmatch, whatever the word is. I like to spread deathmatch outside of New Jersey when I can.
Love that. Will Nick Gage actually be in it? Is he available? Is he going to be a part of it?
Probably too soon to tell at the moment. We got a lot going on in the world of MDK at the moment. So it would be premature for me to say whether or not he'll be there.
Recently, JBL showed up, which was John Layfield showed up in GCW. Pretty shocking. How did the heck did that all come about? That was what a surprise. And you must love former SmackDown World Heavyweight Champions, right?
I'm a big fan of JBL, and who is not, but yeah, no, we have, JBL and I have a mutual friend who will remain unnamed. And, it's one of those things, JBL is not like exclusive to, what am I trying to say here? GCW, it kind of has a reputation, for guys like JBL where, when they're kind of dipping their foot into the independent world for the first time, they want to go somewhere that, they know they can have fun, somewhere that, is going to treat them with respect and present them with respect. And, where they don't have to worry about, I don't know, it's somewhere where they know it's going to get the attention it deserves. And, they're going to be well represented. That being said, like I said, we had a mutual friend and I had a good conversation with JBL. And I think JBL is interested in going out and having some fun right now. So GCW is one of those places where guys like him can have fun.
Do you think Effie is hated by all these SmackDown champions? It just seems like
absolutely. They seem to have a distaste for him. I don't know. I guess he's too indie. He's too Effie. He's too GCW. I guess he kind of goes against everything they stand for. So. He seems to be a target.
Will John Layfield be back in GCW? Can you say?
Well, I can't say. I can say that I hope so. But there's nothing scheduled or announced at the moment. But I would love to see JBL come back at some point.
Pretty cool too. Jinder, obviously, Rajdeshi, Jinder Mahal also made a surprise appearance a while back, and now he's kind of almost a semi-regular in GCW. How did that come about with him too? Because I feel like he definitely made a huge mark on the indie scene now, thanks to GCW.
Yeah, same thing, but it's no secret. I was a big fan of Jinder for years. In the same way that I'm a big fan of Omos, and hopefully I'll get to work with him someday. But Jinder's awesome, actually, and he's one of those guys where, like, in WWE, is such a tight structure, and he was one of those heavily scripted characters, I would say, and I don't mean that's not like meant to be a diss. He was just a very manufactured WWE Vince McMahon style character, where everything that he did was kind of meticulously planned, and we didn't really get to see much of Raj. I think we just saw WWE Jinder, and I think there's a whole side to Raj that we still are learning about now, and I think he has a lot to show us. And I think what he's done so far with GCW is really just scratching the surface. I think as he gets more comfortable in our environment and in the indie environment, which he is making the rounds now, I think he'll start to feel more comfortable being out of his comfort zone, and I think he'll start to do more things. And I think we'll continue to see more of Raj. So I'm looking forward to that.
Speaking of like former WB guys, obviously Matt Cardona is a big part of GCW, kind of a big part of his just revival, really, and really his popularity, I think. What do you think about him kind of using GCW and saying, "Oh, I wouldn't mind a run in WWE and AEW"? Does that bother you at all?
He is. I mean, he has done. His legacy at GCW is secure, whether he leaves tomorrow or 2 years from now. He'll go down in GCW history, and we'll go down in history together. So no, I wouldn't. It doesn't bother me one bit. I'm actually a Matt Cardona fan, and if he wants to be on WrestleMania, then I want him to be on WrestleMania, and whatever. If he wants to be on AEW at Wembley Stadium, then I want him to be at AEW, and I just want him to go where he's happy and well paid, which I know is very important to him. And he deserves. He's worked hard. He's put his time in, and he deserves everything.
When we look at GCW, I feel like Bloodsport is really blowing up big time. Obviously, with the former WWE guys showing up. What's your thoughts right now on just how Bloodsport has really grown and just, I don't know, I feel like more and more guys, MVP shows up. I mean, just so many people. I was just talking to Royce Isaac, excuse me, and he was just talking about how he knows people that want to do Bloodsport. So what's the overall thoughts on Bloodsports and the popularity of it?
Yeah, Bloodsport's definitely got momentum right now. The last couple events have been excellent. Quality wise, match quality, performer wise. There's been a lot of buzz, and it seems to be living up to the hype. But it's always been there's always been guys who have wanted to be a part of it. And now I feel like there are people who want to be a part of it that actually can be a part of it, that were never, or at least they may possibly be able to be a part of it in ways where it was never possible. So it's an event that transcends all the rules of independent wrestling. I mean, it's still surprising to me in a lot of ways that we're an event where AEW and WWE people are on the same show, and that just doesn't happen, and hasn't happened ever, and you never saw WWE people competing in environments like this. For 50 years, you didn't see this. So, no, but Bloodsport's, I mean, historically, Bloodsport's been, a top of the line event, but just right now it feels very hot. And I think the momentum is going to continue. We have some nice plans coming up, and I'm looking forward to it.
I will hand it over to Lavi, who's got some big time questions.
Yeah, and Brett, it was great seeing you at Bloodsport. To give myself a little street cred in Brooklyn. As soon as I saw it was announced, it's something that very much appeals to me. So, staying along the same theme of Bloodsport, I kind of wanted to take a little bit of step back to understand, the business of Bloodsport. I was a little bit late to the party in listening to a great Josh Barnett interview with Ariel Helwani before WrestleMania. The sense that I was getting from the interview, and I'm sure this is out there, is just understand sort of like the breakdown. It's a partnership and like sort of co-owned between GCW and Josh Barnett.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it, I don't really think too much about, ownership and whatnot. I just look at it as GCW and Josh are partners on Bloodsport. And, I don't know. I think we have a very smooth relationship, and we're, on the same page as for what we want Bloodsport to be and what we think it can be. And actually, I think it's, creatively speaking, there are times where Josh and I come from different perspectives, and I actually think that that has served Bloodsport well, actually, because we kind of we almost cover two different sides of the the MMA, combat sport, wrestling spectrum. We're able to kind of appeal to multiple audiences at once. But so Josh, we're partners. That's how I look at it. And I mean, and I anticipate that it will stay that way. I think, I think we share together a common goal and vision of what we want Bloodsport to be, which is its own independent entity, where things, where the impossible can happen. So, again, I think the future is bright, and can't wait.
Yeah, and in that interview, I was getting the sense that although you just mentioned that sort of you plan this together, that Josh really likes the creative part and sort of reaching out to a number of talents in which he has access to. And then when questions came up, sort of like how many people will there be and so on, he said, you have to go to Brett for that. Was it more just, do you think, for the purpose of the interview, or does he seem to more enjoy that like creative aspect, and you and the GCW team sort of build out the infrastructure and the venue booking and so on?
Josh definitely loves Josh is very passionate about, matchmaking, and he loves finding and cultivating talent, fighters. He loves coaching. I mean, when he books these matches, when he picks when he picks fighters and puts these matches together, it doesn't end there. I mean, he literally when we get to Bloodsport, he shows up as early as possible, and he likes to get in there with the dudes and literally train for MMA before the show. I mean, he's literally in there teaching them what he knows and helping them apply it to their matches, and it's pretty remarkable. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge. I mean, he's a former UFC champion, but he's literally, one of the most skilled fighters of all time, in terms of, man for man, pound for pound. This guy is a trained, he's a trained assassin, and he has so much to offer, and he loves doing it. He loves teaching, he loves training, he loves matchmaking. He's very passionate about his end of it. And yeah, I mean, our in terms of like our duties, they're just complementary. We both reach out to talent, and we both, do this and do that. But of course, GCW is the infrastructure. We make it. We do the things. We handle things so Josh doesn't have to, and so Josh can focus on doing the things he does. But so far it's worked pretty well.
Sure. With the show that was run in Japan under Bloodsport, I had the sense it seemed more like Josh was kind of like, I got this with like his connections in Japan. Was GCW as involved in that show?
No, and you're correct. That was a Josh production, but that was, that was with our blessing. That wasn't like, that wasn't with Josh, telling us, you sit home, you're not invited. It was, again, Josh did have his own connections. It was something he'd been wanting to do for years, and the opportunity presented itself with some partnerships, and backing that GCW couldn't provide. So it was fine. I mean, and it was. Did you watch it?
I didn't see it, but that's something I definitely want to go out of my way to see.
Yeah.
I was absorbing all of the content on YouTube to get myself hyped up before the Brooklyn show, which I did, but I haven't crossed the threshold of purchase.
Yeah, no. So it was the presentation was amazing. It was different than the way we've presented it, and that's and I mean that as a compliment. All of it is it was just so it looked awesome. I mean, you should check it out, even if just a highlight reel. I was blown away watching it, and there you go. Have a good night. And yeah, so cool. I actually would love to at some point sort of incorporate some of the some of the elements that they used for that show to bring that to ours at some point.
Yeah, John and I had like a long talk after I attended the show, and I think one of the strengths is having the GCW passionate fan base and infrastructure, and even somewhat of a feel of GCW, right? Like when you go to the merchandise stand. I'm not sure if you're following us on audio right now. I'm wearing the GCW hat that I bought, but it's not necessarily the Bloodsport merchandise, and the fans there are there to see. Are chanting GCW, and the clips in between the matches are GCW. Do you think that there's sort of an opportunity to delve deeper and to say like, okay, this vertical is Bloodsport, so to grow and attract that fan base, we have to be like even more different from GCW, or it's just been accepted so much that maybe it's like Effie's Big Gay Breakfast, that's brunch, excuse me for the meal confusion, that sort of thing, where it's like an offshoot brand as opposed to like standing on its own.
I see it. I see it both ways. I guess in the GCW universe, so to speak, I do look at it as something like in the same vein as Effie's Big Gay Dinner or Joey's Summer Break. Just kidding. But yeah, I see it like those shows. They're special events that they're not every month, but they come around once a year or twice a year, or in this case, I mean, Bloodsport seems to be expanding. But I still see them as under the GCW umbrella, and they're part of the schedule. So like at the Brooklyn show, yeah, you saw clips between matches that were advertising or recapping quote unquote regular GCW events and storylines. So I still see it as part of the same kind of universe.
And as things grow and expand, I'm like you mentioned, Josh Barnett has certain talents and so on. Let's are you willing to take like sort of calculated risks where Barnett might say that I want to bring in Sakuraba for WrestleMania weekend. He's going to cost X multiples of typically what we book. Like, trust me on this, to sort of like continue building that relationship and taking those risks. Brett, are you there? John, do you still have audio?
I don't hear him now.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I'm back.
Oh, no problem.
Do you hear me? I'm sorry. Somehow my screen got minimized, and I guess it took my audio with me.
Sure. No problem. I had a long diatribe about Sakuraba. I'm not sure if that.
I heard that.
Came across.
I heard that.
Okay.
And did you hear any of my reply?
No, I think that's where it dropped off.
Okay. Yeah, no, we've made investments and taken chances like that multiple times with Bloodsport, both during Mania weekend and off. And yeah, I absolutely trust Josh. And we have a back and forth dialogue with this stuff. When a big name comes up, it's Josh will say it's going to cost this much, and then we kind of weigh it out. Like if we're going to pay this person this much, then we have to then it's this much less for the rest of the card. And is it worth it? Yes or no? And we kind of go back and forth, and we generally come to an agreement. But I tend to defer to Josh at the end of the day, because he's got a good track record, and we have a good track record together. So for now, we've got more hits than misses.
So my transition question from Bloodsport into Triller, which I'd love to dive deeper into, is that I believe the Bloodsport is a standalone pay-per-views, if I could still use that term, and it's not part of the Triller Plus package, just because it's a partnership. Does that make sense, sort of as a cleaner way to look at how did this perform, and and I guess divvy it up sounds.
They are still part of the Bloodsport is part of the Triller Plus Fight Plus package now.
Oh, okay.
The Japan one was a pay-per-view. Got
it. Okay, that makes sense. So, we're coming across a lot about Triller, right? There's the stock merger. There's fetching, not to minimize it, but fetching about their payments from Triller. Other people are messaging me that things are going fine. How is the Triller relationship for you?
Triller relationship for GCW has been overall good. Triller's been going through this transitional period for months now. I mean, almost a full year, I would say, where a lot of the resources have been kind of on hold, and a lot of their ability to maneuver has been in a holding pattern, all because they've had this merger that's been in the works and been pending, and this attempt to take it public. So certainly, it's affected a lot of their partners, some more than others. But overall, despite any challenges, our relationship has been productive and positive. And actually, I don't know if you followed, but there was movement in the merger this week. Did you see the latest updates?
Yes, I saw that there was movement, and to be transparent, I wanted to have some fun with it, so I bought a little bit of stock just because the AGBA just bounces up and down so much. I'm like, well, if it could bounce up, then maybe I could cash out. But it's something that I've taken a lot of notes about. One of the things that I noticed, and outside of, I believe, the president of Triller, some of the other people involved who aren't necessarily public figures, I won't mention their name, they're no longer connected with Triller, which had surprised me. One person in PR, one person related to senior marketing. Have your connections there changed?
Well, Mike Weber, who I think you guys have spoken to before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mike Weber has essentially retired. He's now working as sort of a consultant and is an ambassador. So, I mean, that was a big change, but that was not something that was abrupt or unexpected. That was something that had been planned for some time. He remains involved, just not on a day-to-day business standpoint. He's, again, he's kind of more of a consultant or a liaison these days, or he's there when they need him. But the day-to-day people, I mean, we don't have a ton of day-to-day, we're not really involved in Triller's day-to-day business. So there's really not there's not much. It doesn't really apply to us. You know what I mean? We have shows, we have a schedule. We let them know when we're running a show, and then our technical people talk to their technical people, and that's the gist of our day-to-day relationship with Triller. Now, I mean, at the top, yeah, you know, the person Mike was my day-to-day, you know, my day-to-day point man with Triller, and he's retired. So now the person that's replaced him is the guy I talk to. But all these other people that, you know, you seem to be alluding to, they're not really people that they're not people that I have much interaction with. So it doesn't really apply to us, and nothing has changed in terms of what we do or how we do it. You know, we're still just, we run a show, here's our schedule, and on to the next.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
And I do know, I will say also, yeah, I do think there's going to be those changes and more, because there's two companies merging now, and now that there seems to be some direction, I think that they are going to try to. I think they're going to try to. What's the? I'm trying to think of what the corporate word would be here. Not downsize, but sort of streamline a lot of duties where they can, I guess. So I think they're starting to figure those things out now on, you know, where they can do that.
I guess right size and see where there are overlapping corporate synergies.
Yes,
So
there you go.
just to get your temperature on things, would it be fair to say you're optimistic, but are you cautious as well as things unfold, or just
No, I'm
sort of like,
optimistic, and
Mhm,
the latest update this week, and you can tell me if you have a different interpretation of it, but my understanding, both from what I'm reading and from what I'm told, is that the merger is approved and they're going to be going public in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So what that ultimately means is, first and foremost, there's going to be an influx of capital coming from their new partner, and then potentially more when the stock goes public. You know, is it going to be billions of dollars coming in? Doubt it. But is there going to be significant capital to remove the holds and start moving forward on a lot of projects? Yes, I think those things are going to start to happen. So I'm optimistic about that, and I think you know, for those people who were able to hang in there, you know, through any frustrations they experienced, I think they're going to be less frustrated moving forward.
so for me, you know, as an outsider and just, you know, observing things, I'm, you know, we want to hear from you, so I don't want to take away the time from that. But candidly, I'm very concerned.
Sure.
You know, with the delay in the merger, with them
Mm-hmm.
needing to access funds from Yorkville, which seems to dilute their shares.
Mm-hmm.
So I've even begun speculating, sort of like, if they were to break out the, you know, the former Fight TV element, that there's a lot of value to that, and who could potentially bid
Mm-hmm.
for that. But at the same time, I bought the I bought the stock, so I'm not, you know, completely dim on things, but I'm very I'm very cautious about it, just based on what I read. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very helpful to hear
Well,
from you what's going on the day to day. You know, in terms of
you know,
not necessarily,
and
yeah.
yeah, I mean, you know, listen, I don't work for Triller. I don't own any stock. I'm only an independent wrestling guy that works with them. But I mean, you know, I observe in the same way. Of course, I'm reading articles and I learn a lot of things just by reading articles, like you probably do. You know, I'm not involved in their board meetings. You know, I'm not on conference calls where, you know, regarding their merger. You know, I'm putting two and two together just like you are. And of course, there's a lot of things that are unorthodox, you know, about this merger and about their company. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, regardless of, you know, Triller's social media platform, their TikTok competitor, as they have sort of positioned themselves to be, as far as that side of the business and whatever else they do aside from fight. In my opinion, or at least from what I can gather, it's almost irrelevant to the fight side of it. If it doesn't work out, if things don't work out for Triller, the fight business is still strong. And at the end of the day, I think, it will be an appetizing potential asset to somebody else, or for it to move forward on its own, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And that has been, like, I would say, a big plus, and maybe attributable to Mike Weber without, understanding all the day-to-day machinations, that there's been, reports for years of Triller payment delays or whatever it may be, to, like, for music producers and so on. But
Sure.
outside of some recent issues, like that people have been tweeting about or whatever, like, it doesn't seem to have affected fight and Triller Plus, to that degree. And it keeps building. Obviously, like, you're very outspoken about if there's an issue. AEW has increased their relationship with them. So if there was some sort of accounts payable, accounts deliverable issue, we would hear about it.
Yeah.
Scott D'Amore has options. He's going in with them. I think there are pluses here that that we wouldn't see if that particular part of the business was starting to crater.
And one other thing as well, from a fan standpoint and from a user standpoint, the fight or Triller, whatever we want to call it, the Triller app, the Triller service, the platform has as far as I can tell, has a sparkling reputation as far as usability and delivering and usability for its users. You know what I mean? People are familiar with it. It works. You don't hear about a lot of the same difficulties or issues that arise with a lot of the other streamers in the wrestling world. And I think that counts for something, and that's probably why, AEW has committed to fight, because they have such a good reputation from a technical standpoint. So, all the important things still seem to be in place and still seem to be strong for fight.
For sure. Now, Brett, as somebody that enjoys the podcast, I think one of the elements that people enjoy is the minutia. So I'd like to go through some of the different markets and some of the things that I've noticed and get a little bit color and understanding. So having followed GCW really market by market for a few years, it's interesting to, like, look back. So, for example, homecoming weekend in Atlantic City, it was looking good. And at first I was like, it's looking good, but maybe it's behind last year. But then when I looked sort of for comparables, a day or two before, it looked like Atlantic City actually performed better this year for homecoming weekend. Was that the case?
No.
It
was a little off from 2023. Not dramatic, nothing that would raise, alarms or anything, but definitely a little off from last year. But I think there's a lot of factors that contribute to that. Right now the Showboat is the Showboat. I mean, it's like a broken record now to say it, but the Showboat's in a constant state of transition, and it's also not cheap. So I think a lot of people. There's a lot of people who have to decide or pick a weekend, am I going to go to Tournament of Survival weekend or homecoming weekend, because Atlantic City it's not convenient, even for people who live in New Jersey, Atlantic City is not convenient. So, it's very, it's a whole thing, you kind of got to, almost have to make a weekend out of it. And, summer months are not cheap on the Jersey Shore. It's not cheap to stay in a hotel on the boardwalk, and people are struggling. There's a lot of people that can't afford to spend $300 or $400 to go spend a weekend in Atlantic City. So I think that could be a contributing factor. And also, I mean, this was also all in or all out weekend, AEW weekend. So there may have been some people who didn't want to commit to going to, or that wanted to be around to watch that or go to it. That might have taken some of the focus off of homecoming weekend. But like I said, down a little bit, but nothing dramatic. And the people that were there, it was the same level of enthusiasm that we've come to expect, and it was a fun weekend, fun events, and look forward to being back in October.
Speaking of like paired weekends, the show in Cleveland was something that I was watching closely. I think at the theater venue, Temple Live.
Yes, Temple Live. Yep.
Yeah, WrestleTix had it at 633. It looked to me like that there was a few different tiers in terms of balconies, and maybe the third one wasn't opened up. But then I was seeing reports that it was full. I wasn't sure
No,
where
the
things
third
stood with all
tier.
that.
The third tier was not open. And I want to say that we ended up. I wish I could. I wish I had my emails open. I want to say we ended up a little over 700 for that event. But that's WrestleTix is pretty good. They've seemed to have figured their formula out. But there was a good walk up that day, once online sales closed. But that was a good event. That was fun. It was a very cool venue. And yeah, that was our first time in Cleveland. And I'll say one thing, AIW has definitely got that town on lock. They've done a great job cultivating a fan base there and building it for the last however many years it's been, 15, 20 years maybe now. So I have a lot of respect for them and very thankful that they allowed us to come in and be a part of that weekend with them.
And if I remember correctly, Matt Hardy was a part of the show. How's it been working with Matt Hardy? He just keeps reinventing himself and remaining so relevant.
No, Matt Hardy's awesome. He's another guy who, after 30 years, I think he's been wrestling. I'm trying to remember exactly how many. I want to say it's 30 or 30-something years. He still seems to enjoy the business and be as passionate about it. He shows up with ideas. There's no mailing it in, I mean, he's going through tables and doors. He's, accepting matches with Nick Gage. He's, he's swinging light tubes at Matt Cardona. So there's no half stepping, there's no half assing it. I mean, he came to be a part of GCW, and very thankful for that.
One of the most fun venues that looks upcoming, the American Dream Mall. As I've mentioned on the show, the family that owns this mall, and I think Mall of America and a big one in Canada also, the Garmasians, were actually very kind to my parents living in the same apartment complex. I don't actually know them, but that's just the story that I know of. The venue, that was something I was actually thinking about for you guys for a while. As I heard about the unique shows they were doing, and then I saw they started booking wrestling there. Is this going to be in the space where usually they have hockey and where the Globetrotters played?
No, that was an option to us over by the hockey rink, but I wanted to do it in the in, I guess you call it the atrium-ish type space, because I wanted to sort of simulate the Monday Nitro Mall of America look, where we're going to be in the middle of the court with all the stores around us and 3 levels above us. And, I just feel like if we're going to go there, let's make it authentic. Let's literally do a show in the middle of the mall, not in a space that's connected to the mall. You know what I mean?
Sure. So what I'd imagine with that, and for, I think everyone's very familiar with GCW now, but the flexibility in terms of the type of shows that you run, I'd imagine for a show like this, there wouldn't be blood or cursing, in more of like a mainstream type of product.
No, of course. I mean, I wouldn't, if you're going there expecting to see light tubes, you're going to the wrong GCW show. This is, of course, this is going to be shifted towards our, this will be the sports entertainment side of GCW, which we love anyways. So, no, I mean, it'll be suitable for all audiences that could be walking through the mall at that time. And I'm excited for that. I love it. I mean, if you follow GCW, I mean, you know that deathmatch is only a small percentage of what we do ultimately. And we can really do it all. And I love doing sports entertainment. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the right type of show for the right type of venue. I don't know if anyone else remembers this at all, but or if I've never been able to find the video again online, but I'm not sure if you ever heard of this. Abdullah the Butcher, like in like 2004, 2005, was invited to like a very classy like book festival in New England, and they set up a ring, and he decided to have the type of match that he usually has, and like the people were like traumatized and so on. I think it was like very well remembered from anyone that was there. So it
That
certainly
does
speaks.
that does ring a bell. And yeah, I mean, as fun as it would be to do that, no, I hope to. I hope that this is the first of many GCW shows at the American Dream. So I don't want to scare anybody off this time.
Sure. Speaking about partners or friends, colleagues, and so on that would have more of that flexibility. I was watching recently the return of Juggalo Championship Wrestling, their legacy show, and certainly your partnership with them, at least relationship with them, has been for quite a while, booking them on shows and so on. Are they seeking some support from like GCW to run like, to send some talent to JCW, like a little bit more formal relationship as they ramp up?
I think I think you could see some of that type of stuff. I'm a fan of or a I'm a fan of ICP and JCW, and I'm an admirer of kind of the following that they created and cultivated over the years. And I had fun watching JCW as a fan, many years ago, and they're yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, so I'm happy to help. They're not. I don't look at them as competition or anything. And Violent J, who I've spoken to and speak to frequently, I would honestly probably consider him a friend at this point. So I'm happy to help in ways that I can, and ways that it makes sense. Yeah, I'm happy to assist and see what's possible.
So a market that we spoke with you about a while ago was Philly, and your Philly at the time was sort of like, I'm running all around there. If people from Philly want to go to Atlantic City or wherever it may be, they can find us. But like Philly proper, isn't necessarily where we're going to run right now. But the Harrah's Casino, and I'm not sure if that's considered Philadelphia exactly, but in that market is something that you're starting to run regularly. Is it sort of like a more traditional like casino type relationship, sort of like sold shows, or they're just it just makes sense in terms of the rent? Like what's appealing to?
No, it's not a sold show. It's just I mean, we just happen to have a connection to the venue, and we pay a rent like we would anywhere else. And it's a deal that makes sense for us. And I mean, I guess technically like the zip code might not be Philadelphia, but I mean it's Philadelphia. I guess the mailing address might be considered Chester, but again, I mean, it's right down the street from the Philadelphia airport. It's 10 minutes from Center City. It's Philadelphia, so no, I mean, it's just I don't know, it's a cool venue. And it's yeah, and it's Philadelphia, which is somewhere where I do think we should have a presence, whether it's twice a year, 3 times a year, or whatever. I think it is a good place for us to be.
So, running Hawaii, that was, a surprise. On their website, I think it's the convention center's website, they had listed 400 people, I guess, as the potential setup or maximum for that. And it's fun to see like the schedule build out, like, be in San Diego a couple days before. And
Where
then,
did you see that?
the capacity. On the what's the venue? It's Honolulu Convention Center, something. I can
Hawaii
find it for you.
Convention Center. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you go to like their upcoming shows, it lists like a number for each show
Oh,
in
really?
terms of anticipated attendees.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Is that on target?
No.
No.
But that may be. I think there's probably multiple configurations for that room, and they probably just pick a number.
Sure.
But the number that we discussed is different than that. But I mean, I have no idea what we're gonna draw there. I know some people up there that are gonna help us promote and who are giving guidance, but I have no idea if 200 people are gonna show up, 400 people, 600 people, 800 people. I have no idea. So hopefully we do run out of space. Maybe we'll have to. I mean, hopefully it's more than 400, and we have to turn people away. But yeah, Hawaii is just one of those places where it's been on the list, and my goal is to hit all 50 states eventually. So if I can knock them off where they make sense and make it fit into our schedule, then I'm going to keep trying to find places like this. So November 2nd, we'll be there.
So I'm just looking at, according to Cage Match, the schedule. So November 2nd, and then the 14th is Louisville. So is there, whenever I think about Hawaii traditionally in wrestling, like there's sort of like, it's like, okay, it's a good stop to go to Japan and then come back. Is like Japan going to be before Louisville, or that's just, you're just going to Hawaii?
No, it's more connected to California. We're doing the show in San Diego 2 days prior. And yeah, it could theoretically be a good connecting stop with Japan, but that's not what's happening this time.
Sure. So one more, market by market. So you just announced Seattle in December 28th in Washington Hall. Is that in partnership with Defy, or is that standalone?
It's a standalone, but it's, with an assist from Defy. That's their venue, and we don't go, or at least we try not to. We don't go into other people's venues, without the blessing or without, some sort of arrangement in place. So, I mean, we wouldn't be there if they weren't lining it up for us, or if they weren't connecting the dots or handing the keys to us. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a standalone show, but it's in conjunction.
No, yeah, that's always fun to see. Like sometimes when I see you going to new markets, like for example, Salt Lake, I was like, "Are you working with Devotion?" And then I saw later there was like a little bit of a news story connected to Devotion, and then I saw that you were connected to them. And certainly we've seen it in the Montreal market with IWS, the longtime promoters there.
Yep.
Sort of like just keeping those good relationships.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these are all good people and people that have, long-standing roots in these respective markets. And yeah, they're people that I know we can count on.
So let me turn it over to John.
So will Sakuraba, who Lavi loves, will he be a part of Barnett's Bloodsport in Jersey City? That's a good question for you.
Don't know yet. We're still kind of. I think Josh is still kind of kicking around some ideas, and he'll throw them to me a couple at a time or one at a time here and there, and then the pieces come together. But I haven't heard that name yet. But I mean, we've definitely talked about him before, of course, for Bloodsport USA. Whether or not this is the one, I don't know.
And a guy you mentioned before, who now is a free agent, I guess, Omos, will he be headed to GCW? Or is that just maybe a dream that you would like to have him in GCW?
Well, it might just be a dream for right now. He's definitely not. There's nothing in place, and he's you know, he's a yeah. I mean, he's not a free agent, so
Oh, he's not. Oh, I thought he was. Okay.
no, unless you know something I don't know.
There was
I don't
some
know.
confusion online, but I think he
Yeah.
confirmed that he's still under contract to WWE.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I believe to be the case. But maybe someday.
Love that. Love the sports entertainment mix in with GCW. That's some of the best stuff because obviously the hardcore fans hate that. So I mean, it's tremendous to kind of have the sports entertainment aspect involved.
Yeah, well, that in and of itself is sports entertainment, you know. So
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So give us one last plug of where everybody can find GCW, see GCW, and all the shows coming up in the imminent future.
well, next week we'll be in Detroit at Harpo's on Saturday the 14th, followed by a return to Rochester the next day, Sunday the 15th, Water Street Music Hall. And then the following weekend we'll be in Philadelphia, Harrah's on September 20th. And the next day we'll be in Hartford, Saturday, September 21st. And then there's a little break till we head to Atlantic City for Fight Club weekend and War Games, and then on and on from there. But of course, you can follow GCW on social media at on Twitter, or X as they call it, at GC Wrestling _ and on Instagram at Game Changer Wrestling. Those are the two best places to follow us and get all the up to date information and news and so on and so forth. And yeah, so yeah. Oh, and there's 4 big events going on sale tomorrow. When does this come out?
A few days. It'll be out in a few days.
Okay, so by the time this comes out, so I'll instead of saying on sale soon, I'll say now on sale.
Yes.
Fight Club weekend, Atlantic City, October 12th and 13th. Those are on sale now. October 18th, return to Denver, on sale now, and October 19th. The return to Los Angeles, where we'll be going for our 10th straight sellout at the UCC. Those tickets are on sale now.
Awesome. Brett, thank you so much for all the time. Again, our most prolific guest, Lavi's favorite guest. So thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you guys as always for talking about GCW and having me on.
Thanks, Brett. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
And Lavi, let's wrap this bad boy up and head towards the plugs. You follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you, Lavi? Where can everybody find you?
So follow me on X, Lavimarg, LAVIEMARG, and let's get us to 100 group members on the Business of the Business on LinkedIn. Come on aboard.
Love that. Thank you to Brett. Thank you to GCW. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Business of the